Thank you everyone for deciding to invest your time in this session on community and networking as part of VIATEC's Call for Talent initiative. My name is Rob Bennett, and I'm the moderator for this session. I'm a recovering entrepreneur who started as a software developer and for the last 10 years has been working with VIATEC to design, deliver, and evolve programming for our accelerator. One aspect of that is working with a wide range of networking groups, everything from our own eye-popping signature events to peer roundtable sessions, as well as being active with a number of community organizations. VIATEC's mission is cultivating the most cohesive tech community in the world, and building that peer or collegial engagement is core to that mission. In-person, face-to-face events have been eliminated over the last year, which has presented a significant challenge to networking and community building. But the importance of these activities has not diminished. We are joined by three amazing and super engaged people in our community who are here to share their experiences and perspectives on community and networking. They are Humaira Ahmed, founder and CEO of Locelle, a facilitated mentorship and networking application. Christina Jones, VP Operations for RaceRocks 3D, a company developing tools and applications for e-learning, VR, AR, media, story, and game-based training. And Noah Warder, head of people at Gusto, empowering people operations and HR leaders to engage their teams in an authentic and meaningful way. Perhaps I could get each of you to provide a brief introduction of yourself to help set the context for this conversation. Humaira, can you go first, please?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Humaira Ahmed, founder and CEO of Locelle. I actually started a business based on this topic of networking because I was born and raised in Pakistan, moved to Toronto, lived there for 5 years, lived in Vancouver for 1 year, and I've been living in Victoria now for 9 years. So I call myself a global citizen. But one of the things, as you know, with whether it's life transitions or moving to a new city, you know, networking is at the heart of feeling the sense of belonging. And I'm really, really excited to be here and share what I've learned. And yeah, excited to be here.
Thank you, Humaira. Christina, could you go next, please?
Hi, I'm Christina. Networking is kind of responsible for my career in technology. I went to my mid-30s with a career in the insurance industry and got curious about technology, walked through the doors of VIATEC a few years ago and found a community that was just amazing. And I wanted to be part of it. So I met people, learned about opportunities, became part of giving back through different charitable organizations, found RaceRocks, and like networking is why I'm here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina. And Noah, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So hi, everyone. My name is Noah. Networking is also part of how I got into this job. I'm traditionally from hospitality, so running restaurants and all that kind of stuff. And you know, you meet a lot of people when you work in restaurants, and I got to meet a lot of great people who worked in the tech industry and sort of introduced me to the Victoria tech scene. And then I founded my last startup based on community, and so that's Battlesnake. It's community for developers to, you know, engage with each other all over the world, practice their programming skills, and just have a lot of fun. And so, you know, community networking, it's a big part of how I got my career. It's how I think a lot of people, you know, expand their careers and meet those connections and make friends and, you know, start companies through that networking and making those connections. So really excited to talk about, you know, how we can help everyone here learn about Victoria a bit more.
Awesome. Thanks, Noah. And yeah, one of the questions in the chat reminds me that the session is being recorded and the recordings will be made available afterwards for additional reference. We have a few questions prepared to help kickstart the conversation, but we're also looking forward to any of the attendees asking their own questions. So I'll be reading those as we go. In the meantime, I got a few here. So starting one is, what's the best place to start for folks looking to start making connections in our community during the pandemic? And do you feel this is different now than pre-pandemic? Anyone want to go first?
Sure, I'll jump on it. I would say it's definitely different during the pandemic, at least for me. We do have some very active Slack communities like the VIATEC community and the Tech Ladies community that also exists. Those online resources are there, plus VIATEC and roundtables and events that are done through there that are all available during COVID. Prior to COVID, there was a lot of in-person opportunities to get together through meetup groups, through VIATEC, through events that were happening. Yeah, the tech scene here in Victoria has a lot of opportunity for meeting people. And yeah, I look forward to the doors opening again.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that. So definitely missing the in-person events because they were always so vibrant. A lot of them happened at VIATEC. There's also Club Quench on Store Street. You know, a lot was happening, but since the pandemic, a lot of things have shifted to online. But this is a great way. So, you know, I think even through VIATEC, events like these are fantastic. Like Christina said, there's a lot of YYJ Slack communities, and I believe maybe at some point we can even post the links here for people. But also, I will say that LinkedIn has been incredible in times of COVID, and because of the geographic, you know, you can pick and choose who lives in Victoria, who works in Victoria, and then being able to reach out to them has been incredible. And I would assume that it would really be, you know, easier now because most people expect to get those calls or at least invites to be more mindful when you reach out, share you're new here or you're looking to connect with people with common maybe jobs, leadership within that community, and just start to expand. But I think LinkedIn right now has been, for especially our team, really, really important. And I mean, there's Locelle. I want to be mindful because it is really for women, people who identify as women. It's a networking app for women to connect, and we have over 2,000 people. So that's also a great way. But for everybody else, I mean, you know, definitely try the meetup, Slack, VIATEC.
Yeah, there's a lot of still active meetups that are happening, especially on the dev side of things. And so if you're a developer, you're looking to move to Victoria, you want to kind of hear more about what developers are doing here, go to meetup.com. There's a lot happening here. There's like Side Project Sunday where people just kind of hang out and chat about what they're working on. There's a DevOps one. There's also the UX one that meets once a month. There's lots of meetups that are happening for lots of people. And then if you're in like the HR or PeopleOps space, there's PeopleOps.ca. And so that's the community of Victoria and BC. Well, I'd say mainly Victoria, but Up Island and a few people from other parts of BC that, you know, we connect, we chat, all things HR and PeopleOps. And also you could probably reach out to anyone in that community and just ask them like, what's happening in Victoria? And like, you know, these are people who are hiring for companies. They have a pretty good pulse in the community and they're always willing to chat. And I know that I've been making lots of connections since the pandemic, just through like Humaira said, LinkedIn. A lot of people are reaching out on LinkedIn and being like, want to move to Victoria, want to move to the West Coast, just want to see what's happening out there. Do you have 20 minutes to chat on Zoom?
I think there were so many events to participate in. I think we all took events for granted pre-pandemic. And so now there's lots of opportunities. Noah, I know you were involved in something called Battle Snake, which is a multi-community event you know, there's an employment aspect to it, but there's also a networking component to that. And I think, you know, people taking advantage of every opportunity they have now to help build their network and learn more about communities is super important.
Yeah. Battlesnake was a big one, especially for the developers, but also there was Startup Slam. So that was the tech conference where, you know, there was 4 tracks where people could learn from leaders within the Victoria and BC space on everything from design to product to software development for juniors and students to like more senior applications. And so I know they went virtual this year and it worked out pretty well, and I'm sure it's going to happen again. So, you know, there's lots happening here out on the island, and it's, you know, sometimes we just don't make enough noise about it.
Well, and I have gotten out for a couple of beverages and some meetings, and it's amazing. You still see people in the bars. There is informal networking that is still taking place in a very safe way.
You just have to be outside now.
Exactly, and luckily all the bars and restaurants have their amazing patio space, and we're now getting fantastic weather. So it's all working in our favor. Okay, next question I've got here is, what community groups do you recommend for folks with technical backgrounds who want to further develop their skills?
Well, I mean, I'll talk about Battlesnake again. Like, it's all about programming, and it is a global community now, but it was started in Victoria. So there's a very strong Battlesnake community here as well. I know they're running their spring league right now, so go check it out and see what's happening there. But that's a big one. And the meetup groups. There's lots of developer meetup groups in Victoria doing their thing. And I think post-pandemic, there'll probably be even more like in-person events and doing that kind of stuff. And so excited to see that happening. I'm just trying to think of anything else, dude. I'm gonna pause and think for a moment and let maybe somebody else jump in.
Besides specifically for programming, there's also like the VIATEC roundtables. If you're in leadership or marketing or product, there's ones available there as well, which are pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we at Locelle also do events that are focused on building community. Again, mostly focused on topics tailored to women, but a lot of men also join our events. So there's that. And then we don't provide like technical development. We focus on leadership competencies. So that's something that which is why this is so hard. If you're a person who identifies as a woman, you can check us out. We really focus on connecting you with leaders who can help you there. Other than that, I also will say that there's, as you join the Slack groups or LinkedIn, being just mindful of what is it that you're looking for? Who are the top 3 people or the top persona of the people that you can possibly connect with? Is it a peer? I always recommend finding somebody with similar job or role as you. That also really helps, because then not only can that be somebody that you can talk to about your challenges or opportunities, but also hopefully become friends. And then the other one is reach out to a leader that you aspire to be like or do admire. Reach out to them, again, being mindful of the intention of that meeting. Reach out. Most people want to give their time, but because we're in such a Zoom fatigue time, be intentional and say, if it's 20 minutes, make sure it's 20 minutes. And also, if possible, send the agenda. Like, I would love to talk a little bit about, ask you questions. Here's a bit about myself, and then kind of see where to go. And always, of course, follow up and thank people. But I really think that being intentional right now more than ever is key, regardless of the method or channel you choose.
Thank you. There's a interesting question that came in from Stephen on chat, and I'd like to deal with it because I hear this one really frequently. And either you believe that Victoria, the region, is a very cliquey place, or you believe it's the most open place you've ever seen. I hear both. And I often describe Victoria as a place where it's easy to get the first coffee with anyone, and whether you get a second coffee is up to you or not. And that's certainly my experience. I'd be interested in hearing your own experiences, though, because I know you'll have different experiences than myself.
Yeah, my experience with that is I didn't find it cliquey. Again, I entered the tech community as a mom in my mid-30s who had not had a background in tech, and found people really interested and willing to talk to me. I joined some groups. I became part of going to lots of events that were not set up or tailored for me. They were tailored for everybody, but nobody went that's an outsider, let's not talk to them. It was very, I felt very welcome. I went to a breakfast club where I sat with a bunch of young developers and learned about their path. And yeah, I have always found the tech community in Victoria very open and welcoming.
Yeah, I'm just also adding to that. It's so actually, I believe it's a stereotype. I think it's a misconception because I moved I've moved around so much, but have been here for a while. And one of the reasons is that people are welcoming. You may have to go into say 5 groups, but you will find your tribe. It's also making sure that, whatever group that you go into, you're authentic with whatever the ask is, learning about people. And I think it just goes everywhere. I will say though that here it's all about meaningful relationships, whereas in Toronto, when I lived there, it's like, okay, what do you want? How can I help you? Here, people will help you for sure, but it's also, there's more element of that authenticity. Like, do I want to help you? I think it's just definitely I've noticed, but very welcoming. And before too, I remember when I moved here, I went to VIATEC straight. I even took a volunteer position because I wanted to just get involved. That was a great way. That led to a lot of actual paid consulting work, which was fantastic. And then also through that, you know, meeting with other leaders and even having that ask, if they see that authenticity and passion in you, they will make referrals. Like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. I think they would be a great person for you to talk to. I've definitely found that people have been really welcoming, referred me to a lot of other people who added value to my network. And it's just a come from a space of, how can I give? And you will get so much more in return because people really genuinely want to help.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will help you if you reach out and ask for them, and you tell them what you want, and you know, do it in a very respectful manner, and you know, offer to, I'd say, you know, back in the day, you take them out for a cup of coffee or something like that. But now it's like, can you give me 20 minutes on Zoom? And this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to achieve. I will say, like, personally, like, I do get a lot of people reaching out and being like, hey, like, can I have a 30-minute conversation? And my first question is always like, what do you want to talk about? Like, what is the purpose of this conversation? Are you trying to solicit me for, like, trying to sell me something, or are you looking for help? So being like authentic, like Humaira is saying, like, be authentic, be upfront about what you're looking for. And you're gonna have to put in some work. Like, full disclosure, I think that that cliquey stereotype from Victoria comes from, like, people have their friends and they have their friend groups and they have their groups of professional networks. And to break into those, you are going to have to put in a little bit of work. And I will say, like I'm originally from Saskatchewan, like I'm from the prairies, and prairie folk are a little bit more open than I will say they're on the West Coast, just because, you know, when you live through a 50 below winter for 8 months of the year, everyone takes care of each other no matter what. Whereas the West Coast, you can go out and do whatever you want all year round. But you're gonna have to put in a little bit of work. You're gonna have to ask some people, and you're gonna have to, you know, put yourself out there a bit, and, you know, take a few chances. And you might get burnt, and you might not get exactly what you want right away, but you got to be persistent about it. And that's the key thing there. It's not going to be easy, but if you can make it, Victoria is one of the best places to live in the world. Really, it's lovely here.
Yeah, and you know, I think part of it is the economic makeup of our tech industry. There's no really dominant subsector, and so consequently, there's not a lot of competition except for talent. But you know, there's more than enough money to fund companies and their ideas, and so I think people don't feel as competitive. There's not as many walls that get built. But I think you're all right. You have to put some effort into it. You got to know what you want. Like, if you're going to talk to someone like me, who can connect you to someone in industry, you got to help me. I'm just not going to volunteer to start connecting you. You got to ask, and you need to be specific. And you can't be selling. I love the fact you brought that up, Noah, because you know, a lot of people are trying to sell some product or service, and we get a lot of that too. So yeah, that's fantastic. As I'm sure all of you know, there's a big diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative on right now with VIATEC. It's been that way for a while. It's just people are now labeling it. So I'd like to jump to this last prepared question that we had. What support is there available for folks from historically marginalized groups in the tech industry, like women, Indigenous, people of color, people with disabilities, etc., within our community?
I can't answer this question without talking about what I do, unfortunately.
That's why I was leaving that one to you. I was like,
that's why we're all quiet.
Because, you know, here's the thing. I think, you know, of course I focus on people who identify as women, whether that's Indigenous, whether that's other, you know, I'm from Pakistan. You know, even our team is, you know, women from Brazil, China, like, you know, so our goal is to create equitable workplaces for women. And we know that workplaces that work for women work for a lot of other groups as well. And so there's Locelle. So because we're traditionally employer funded, so if you've moved here for a job, you can refer. That would be great. But other than that, I think it can be, you have to somewhat take it upon yourself. Reach out, like I said, reach out to people. Like I've gotten so many mentors through just cold calling these people with sharing, hey, I want to develop in this area. Just again, getting that coffee, but being mindful and say, I'm thinking about getting into this industry, or I'm thinking about leveling up a little bit. What do you recommend? Here's what I've done. Here's where I'm finding blockers. Show that you have made an effort already for yourself, and then reach out to people. It's very trusted. It's kind of like, I don't know, like sales, but it's like you have to build that relationship first. And a lot of people will give you their time. They will mentor you, they'll sponsor you, they'll advise you. I remember even reaching out to this amazing woman, Allison Twiner, 2 years ago. She was speaking at a panel, angel investor, and she when she was on a panel, they were describing her as she just left Facebook. She's kind of semi-retired now. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the person I want to talk to. I literally, right after the panel was over, I went on LinkedIn, reached out to her, said, hey, Allison, would love to connect with you. Here's what I'm doing. I would love to talk about XYZ. She responded right away. She said, yep, let's book a time. We booked a time. I still remember I was sitting at Discovery Coffee Blanchard, and I called her up on the phone and I said, hey, will you be my advisor? And that was the first thing I said. Sounds so stupid in hindsight, but she's like, yeah, sure, let's talk about it. And I was like, what? I was looking around like, what? I was expecting a no. But yeah, I would say just you have to make that effort. And then probably VIATEC too. I believe you also share a lot of opportunities for skill development. So yeah, that's what I would have to say.
When it comes to DEI, it's like it's a work in progress. Everybody's trying to do better, and which is fantastic. Everybody's becoming mindful of it, and so like change is happening. I know Victoria has had a lot of opportunities and specialty groups that have come into involvement in the last 5 years, specifically around inclusion of women into tech spaces. That's part of where I found my footing in the tech industry, was coming through Ladies Sun and Code and groups like that, IWIST, and wonderful communities that exist like that to support women who are entering tech spaces. There are lots of groups that are coming into fruition, but those support networks for marginalized communities are growing, and I'm really excited to see where they come to in the future.
Yeah, there's more and more happening, and there's more and more work to be done, and there is definitely some areas in which I'm not aware. Like, I'll be upfront, and it might just be my own feeling. Like, I don't know of any great opportunities for Indigenous peoples out in Victoria to get support and network, and especially the tech community. And it's an area that we're seriously lacking, and we need, to start stepping up in. And it is known and it's being worked on, and we're like, full transparency is like part of who we are here in Victorian tech. And so we're not trying to hide anything. We know where we're lacking. We're trying to get better. And there are resources out there, like the PeopleOps community. So that's the HR group community. Like, we're doing a session with someone from the Neil Squire Society on just like how to make our overall recruitment practices more diverse. Like, how are we becoming better as companies? And so there is things happening, and we're getting better. And I wish I could have come with you with a whole list of like groups and be like, you can join this group, you can join this group, you can join this group. They just don't exist yet here in Victoria. There are some, and hopefully there will be more as the years progress.
And companies in Victoria are taking more serious action towards it. Like, RaceRocks is an Indigenous owned business. And we're working towards getting our PAR certification to be a certified Aboriginal business. And it's learning about those communities and how we can help increase growth. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, and it's a journey. There's anybody saying they're nailing it right now is the one not nailing it right now.
Thank you. we're nearing our time. And so what I'd like to do is ask each of you for your top 1 or 2 tricks, tips, techniques for creating, building, expanding your network in Victoria.
I guess I can go. I will say this, which was really hard, which was hard for me to do, was to create content and share other people's content that resonates with you. And I know it may be uncomfortable, but even starting with a video, I remember my first video 3 years ago was from like this type of camera angle where like literally the worst. If I find it, I'll post it. I know it's on YouTube somewhere. But you know what? I put myself out there and I talked about the why, you know, kind of why I was doing what I was doing, put it there. And I remember on LinkedIn, and I was so scared, but you have to just go for it. And you learn from it. And I remember my father-in-law, he called me and he was like, oh, I saw you posted this video on LinkedIn, great content, but I think I can help you with some tips on how to produce that content. And I was like, stop it. I just wanted to put content out there. And I kid you not, that video kind of started my kind of video speaking, because I was like, okay, now this is the bar set really low, right? I got so many comments because people were like, this is amazing. This is awesome. It's raw, it's authentic. And I was like, wow. So then I started to do more of those. And I remember at one point, our team member, he was like, Humaira, I think it's about time we invested in a proper camera and mic setup. But anyway, what I want to share here is put yourself out there, create meaningful content. If you can't think of anything, share other people's content, because then you'll start to establish that authority, that credibility, that influence within the Victoria Tech community. Share VIATEC's content, right? It's like, then you'll say, oh, who is this person that shared it? So yeah, so give the gift of sharing content and create content. And I think that would be my top tip.
I love the fact you used the word authentic as well.
Mm-hmm. People can tell.
I would say approach networking and community with an attitude of curiosity and collaboration. Go into everything about what you can learn and what you can give back. If you go with them with those attitudes, they're always well received, and people want to help people who want to learn.
Awesome. Noah, you get the last word.
I'll try and make it good. So I would say like a big thing of that of just like, look for the people that are producing that great content, like Humaira said, and also follow them and reach out to them and ask them like, I love what you're doing. This content is amazing. I'd love to learn more about how you're doing this, why you're doing it. And then just like, follow those people that you want to connect with, and follow the companies you want to connect with, and follow the community groups you want to connect with, and start just brushing up on what's happening. Because if you're applying to a company in Victoria, or you move to Victoria and start applying to Victoria companies, they're invariably going to ask you like, what do you like about here? Why do you want to move here? What's going on here that's interesting to you? And you might want to be prepared to answer that question a little bit.
Awesome.
Can I just say one thing very quickly?
All right.
Reach out to the people at least 10 times before you give up. Like, I cannot stress.
I don't want to get 10 emails.
It might just be you. It might just be you. But you know what? But that's the point. That if you don't hear back from somebody, keep reaching out until you've hit your limit of, it might be 5. My limit is 10, okay? I've got lots of tolerance. But 10 times, right? And then you move on. But give it a try, because people are busy, but they will, if you're persistent, they'll make time for you.
Thank you, Christina, Noah, and Humaira. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to help us explore this topic. It's an important topic, and I hope our participants got value out of it. I think I did. And I think that is it.
Excellent. Thank you.
You so much
See
for
you
having
soon
me.
in person, hopefully.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Someday soon.
Thank you all for participating.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.